This is a color wheel, or is this the color wheel. You can see that the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. 2 different reds and 2 different blues, but which one's correct? Most of you probably learned about the primary colors in kindergarten. But what if I told you primary school didn't tell you all the primary colors? Today, we're going to unpack the differences between red, yellow, blue color schemes and the cyan, magenta, and yellow, or CMY primary colors. I mean, I've heard of CMYK, but why should I CMY care? Plus, I'll throw in a little bonus biology, but don't worry, I'll keep it simple for those of us who maybe took a little bit more art and a little less STEM. Now, you've probably heard about CMYK if you've ever made digital art or adjusted the settings on your screen. Oftentimes, we're asked if we want to use RGB colors or CMYK or something along those lines. And ultimately, they're asking whether you want to format your project for the screen or for print.
Oh, wait a minute, RGB is red, green, and blue. Those aren't the primary colors either.
That's right, little Jim, for pigment. But in order to talk about pigment, first, we have to talk about light. Let's go to the board. This is your eye, or a drawing of a human eye, anyway. As light passes through your lens and to the back of your eye, it hits the retina. This is where special cells live that detect light. These are your rods and cones. These are like tiny indicators that tell your brain when they detect the specific light frequencies they're designed to detect. And different colors of light give off different frequencies. In our case, as humans, we have cones, or color-detecting cells, that can detect red, green, and blue light. The rods detect brightness or white light, but we don't need to focus on that right now. The most important takeaway here is that your eye, when looking at a color, is detecting a mixture of red, green, and blue light.
That still didn't answer my question about the primaries. Where's the yellow?
I'm glad you asked, little Jim. See, light is what we call additive color, meaning that mixing all the colors together makes white. This is opposite to mixing pigments, which is known as subtractive color. With pigment, mixing all the colors together makes black, or brown, or gray, depending on the ratio of...
Yeah, we get it, lady. Just go back to the explaining the things that we clicked on the video for.
CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. The K stands for black. Don't ask me why. And the black is really only there for your printer, so it has an easier time making those deeper, darker colors. Doesn't have to use your entire cyan ink pot to make a document of black Times New Roman text. Color mixing is a very important argument for why you should be using cyan, yellow, and magenta as your primary colors. In our red, yellow, and blue color wheel, the secondary colors are orange, green, and purple. In CMY, the secondaries are actually red, green, and blue. The main argument for using cyan, magenta, and yellow is that they are directly opposite red, green, blue, in the same way that pigment is directly opposite light. So to get the truest colors in our human eyes, we use cyan, yellow, and magenta. Now, some people might argue that magenta is just bright pink mixed with red and white and maybe a bit of purple, but you're just not going to get the vibrancy of magenta out of any red pigment that exists, because as we all know, the more pigment you add, the darker it gets. And adding white doesn't make the color brighter, it makes the color lighter, meaning pastel, not neon.
But I don't need these super ultra vibrant colors. I've been getting along just fine with red, yellow, and blue. So what's the big deal?
Let's take another look at our two color wheels. And yes, I actually mixed the colors. Here's my mixing plate as proof. This one has a more greenish blue and a very bright red, but as you can see, the purples get a little murky, even grayish. This one has nice blue that might seem a little more primary, and you can see that it mixes well with our red to make these very pleasant purples. But we can see that the green is less bright than this one over here. This is in part because there isn't a specific blue or a specific red that are considered true blue and true red. So instead we get the best purples with this one and the best greens with that. However, as my high school art teacher was quick to point out, it's the ugly colors that make the pretty colors pop. In other words, we need the browns in order to make our nice, pleasant purples look bright and wonderful and beautiful. And if you're painting from life, you'll probably be using a lot of neutral colors anyway. So for the average artist, using red or blue in our color mixing doesn't make the big difference. Instead, they might collect a few different types of red or blue or even pre-made colors like green and purple in their collection of paint, which is not a crime. It's not a crime to have pre-mixed green, okay? Get out of my paint. Color wheel helps us understand the relationships between our colors and isn't the end-all be-all law of color. So if you're beating your head against the wall mixing red with blue but it's turning gray or brown instead of purple, you don't need to write a hate mail letter to your high school art teacher. Now you know that switching the red or the blue might solve the problem. Or if you're really trying for those ultra bright, vibrant colors and you're just not getting all the way there, maybe switching out your blue and red for cyan and magenta is going to be the change that you needed, or will work better for your style. All I'm saying is, maybe it's just time to give CMY a chance, or maybe just embrace the brown. After all, it's the ugly colors that make the pretty colors pop.
Yeah, okay, that's a nice sentiment and all, but you completely forgot to mention that the pigments we use often don't even come from a lab. I mean, if you think about how long humans have been making paint out of rocks or plants or whatever, I think it's pretty clear why we still use those colors in our art, right? I mean, ultramarine blue is a classic for a reason. Besides, if it worked for Leonardo da Vinci, Frida Kahlo, and Bob Ross, it'll work for me, you know? Who am I to say those guys didn't have their color mixing figured out? I mean, I've watched every episode of Bob Ross, and he never once listed magenta as one of his paint colors, but you bet your bottom dollar I've got a tube of phthalo green in my box, and don't even get me started on those impressionists. They blended colors without actually mixing any paint at all. In fact, if you want to talk about color and how the human eye sees it, not to mention an elephant eye, then I think we should be talking about the impressionists. I'm talking Monet, Manet, Renoir, Degas.
Let me know in the comments what your favorite color of red is. Mine is alizarin crimson, and I'm not gonna fight about it. And let me know if you enjoyed the slice of biology I threw in. I hope it was easy to digest, but not so easy that it wasn't interesting. If you're participating in Inktober this year, the month-long challenge in which artists make a drawing or an art piece every single day, then you might want to check out my Patreon. For free, you already have access to all of my digital downloads, including a self-care tracker that I actually use that just might help you make it through the month with your sanity intact. You could also join the Happy Creative Collective for just $5 a month and have unfettered access to our Discord, live events, Inktober check-ins, and heaps of artistic praise. If you like this video, let me know, and if you're not already subscribed, why not? You're still here at the end of the video, aren't you? Thank you so much for watching, and as always, happy creating!